Hi, and welcome to the Hybrid Journey with Emerson, the Hybrid IT, the Journey with Okta. I'm Rob Beahm. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at Okta, and today we'll be speaking with Matt Freeman, who's a Senior Manager of Identity Management at Emerson. First, we'll start with some safe harbor. As you know, Okta is a public company, so we just wanted to flag any forward-looking statements that we share here are subject to change. Please feel free to read the safe harbor note in depth at your leisure. Great. So we are your speakers here today. As I mentioned, I'm Rob Beahm. I've had the pleasure of working with Matt and his team at Emerson for the last 2 years. So I'm excited for Matt to share his journey with Okta and kind of start from how they began with us to where they are currently today and where they look to go in 2020 and beyond. Hey, Matt, would you like to take a minute to introduce yourself and describe your role at Emerson?
Yep. Thank you, Rob. As Rob mentioned, I'm Matt Freeman. I'm a senior manager responsible for the identity management service at Emerson. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Emerson. Emerson's a leading manufacturing and technology company that's headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri. Emerson operates 2 business platforms: automation solutions and commercial and residential solutions. The picture that you see on the top left is of a refinery where you'll find products from our automation solutions business. In the bottom right picture is typical of buildings that use products from our commercial and residential group. Across these lines of business, with our corporate group, Emerson operates with 80,000 employees and 700 plus locations globally. Emerson, all right, here we have a slide for you, giving you kind of a high-level view into the authentication architecture that we use at Emerson. We leverage 2 Okta tenants to serve as our identity providers. One of the tenants is for use by our workforce globally. This tenant is primarily comprised of AD mastered accounts. The second tenant is for use by our customers and partners across the globe. Products from Okta that we're currently using include the Universal Directory, Single Sign-On, Adaptive Multi-Factor Authentication, and the Access Gateway. Within Okta, we've integrated over 450 applications. These applications exist on-premise, in the cloud, hybrid, on-prem and in the cloud, and often need to be accessed and used by mobile devices. Currently, my team's working on and planning to enable our customers and partners to be able to bring their own identity when accessing Emerson business systems across our infrastructures. Before we dig into Emerson's journey as an Okta customer, I wanted to share a short story about more Okta that you see in quotes under the timeline. At home, I share an iPad with my 8-year-old son. Occasionally, I use the device for searching on Okta's capabilities and features. My son uses the iPad for YouTube. Often his YouTube session contains Okta ads and videos. One day he tells me that he likes to listen and watch the Okta videos and would like to understand more about how Okta works. So I garner up the patience that I feel I need to take Trey through a simple explanation of how Okta works and why my company uses it. And I finish the simple explanation, and he looks at me and says, "So your job wants more Okta." And that served as a good reminder that it really does work to keep things simple and often there's a more simple way to view issue problem. And so, Rob, let's dig into the details behind more Okta.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for that. I love that story. So let's talk about Emerson's cloud journey. Can you tell us how you began your journey with cloud and Okta?
Yeah, Emerson had a few existing cloud solutions, but for me, the decision we made to start using Office 365 across our enterprise is where I marked the beginning of our cloud journey. And the reason why I feel like it's at the beginning of the journey, because the Office 365 solution is going to be used by our entire workforce, and a high volume of the Emerson data is going to start moving out of our data centers and into a cloud solution environments. And so with that in mind, it became paramount that we integrate Office 365 with secure access while making it very simple for a person to use and access the data. We started looking at Okta after we determined that the existing solutions that we were using could not meet our requirements. The other solutions that we had in-house, they did work, but they were not as simple or have a modern experience, which were really key for what we were trying to deliver to the workforce as they started using Office 365.
Great. Can you
So we selected Okta in March of 2016 and immediately began working to integrate with our Office 365 tenant. In April, we registered our 10,000 existing users of Office 365. And so you can see very quickly we were able to work with the Okta technology, work with partners to integrate Okta with our existing Office 365 environment. And so that came about very quickly, so very promising. And then the following month, we were able to extend Okta and Office 365 to our remaining 45,000 employees that we were targeting for Office 365 and Okta. Following the cutover, the most common question I received from our leadership team was, how did you do it so fast? And the keys for our success were sponsor, resources, and technology. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit on those keys. The best thing that our sponsor did was to hold a daily stand-up meeting where we had to identify our successes and our blockers. By bringing the group together, we were able to quickly address the issues and ultimately deliver on time with two cloud-based solutions being integrated, Okta and Office 365. Okta and Emerson, really provided talented resources for us to work with in bringing the integration together. And the Okta technology enabled us to move fast, and we started to see what the cloud can do.
So tell us about your early impressions. What was the experience early on, and what challenges did you face?
Yeah, right away we were able to experience, the speed at which, cloud-based technologies allowed. And, I think that was one of the promises of cloud technology as we were going through, evaluating, Office 365 and then the solutions we looked at to make them simple and secure. The cloud ones like Okta really, talked about how we could move quickly, and that really came to fruition in the project that we had. We were able to adopt cloud technologies and move a project along very quickly that, I think normally would take a really long time. With the adoption of the cloud-based technologies, with Okta, we started to experience a lot more updates to the product than what we were accustomed to. Previously, our identity technologies were more static. With Okta, the product was evolving very quickly, and it was much easier to deploy updates, than our legacy solutions. And so, we had to get our arms around how to handle and work with all of the updates and, new features that were coming along.
Well, that's good. So you've got this cloud journey in flight, but how did you expand into hybrid mode, and how did you become an early adopter of the gateway? What led to those decisions?
Yeah, soon after our successful Office 365 go live, we began to receive a lot of interest to integrate applications with Okta. One of the use cases that emerged from our business units required our business partners to access an application that was in our data center. Additionally, the application didn't support traditional federation technologies like SAML. So in order to solve that use case, we determined the best approach was for us to use a gateway technology and an Okta tenant, dedicated to the use by our customers and partners.
That's great. And then as you started moving in, Okta had a customer success manager role that was available. Can you tell us what the driver was for bringing on a CSM?
Yeah, the customer success manager, it was a couple of drivers for us to add, the enhanced support that we get with a CSM. Our first year as a Okta customer, we experienced a few issues and outages where I just didn't feel like we got the level of support that we needed in operating an enterprise service, used by all of our employees. And especially when I think about, the promise of these cloud technologies, largely I wanted my team to be, engineering and focused on integrations and not focused on support issues. And we didn't quite see that our first year. And so we looked at, how do we solve that? And that's what got us looking at the CSM. The second driver that we had were the updates that we already talked about. Once we started using the Okta technology, we really wanted to understand how we could best leverage it and drive as many integrations and use as many capabilities as Okta was delivering. And so without the CSM, we were struggling to get information and understand all of the updates. By adding the CSM, I felt like we got better information about each of the updates and more opportunity to participate as an early adopter, which I feel is important because it just takes a little bit more time to understand the features and the capabilities before you deploy them out.
Yeah, and you guys have been great early adopters of betas and new features. So as we kind of move forward in time, can you tell us about your ERP solution and challenges you faced with Oracle EBS?
Yeah, so our integrations with Okta have really grown organically at Emerson. There's not been a mandate that all applications must integrate with Okta and the single sign-on solutions that we have. And along that path, our business started asking about integrating with Oracle EBS, as it's one of the most common applications we use at Emerson. And a common approach for systems like EBS is to synchronize passwords from Active Directory. Our first EBS integration, we encountered an environment that contained sensitive data and it was internet accessible. So using a password synchronization capability wasn't going to be a secure way to solve our problem. So ultimately, we decided to integrate with Okta, and we leveraged the gateway to authenticate into Oracle EBS and help us extend, some of the security controls that we want around sensitive data and internet accessible applications. And so ultimately, we were able to keep that, application, the access simple and secure.
Yeah, and then I think something that might be of interest to a lot of listeners is how you guys have handled hourly workers and shop floor workers. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with the hourly workers?
Yeah, during this time, we started to get other applications other than EBS, looking at cloud solutions that really serve the basic needs of all of our employees and moving those applications to the cloud. So things like HR systems and payroll systems and environmental health and safety applications, those are all things that all Emerson employees need to access. And, we saw a big shift in those applications moving to the cloud. And so during this time, we went from extending our, Okta solution to, our knowledge workers to extending it to our entire workforce. And so that was a complex problem that we had to solve, and reaching a user base that hadn't had a traditional kind of IT account previously.
Right. Well, great. Well, let's keep moving, and now get into more recent activity. So looking into 2019 and present day, you recently added Adaptive MFA. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your approach to zero trust, how you look at MFA in security in general. So would you mind just talking a little bit about your thoughts on zero trust, MFA, and security?
The zero trust concept is definitely a guide for our security program. At the beginning of our cloud journey, we talked about the importance of simple and secure access, and the Okta Adaptive MFA product was a natural fit for us as we looked to expand our identity-related security capabilities and ensuring we continue to align with zero trust. And so, our first target for the use of Adaptive MFA from Okta was Office 365 and mobile devices. Ultimately, we were able to integrate Okta with our MDM solution to ensure only the mobile devices accessing Office 365 were registered in our MDM system. And I think the Adaptive MFA, we're extending that beyond just our mobile workers this year, here very soon. And, we're looking forward to having, an advanced authentication capability, really helping protect all of the applications and employee access that we have across Emerson.
That's great. I think Emerson's in a unique position because you've leveraged almost every aspect and service that Okta has to offer. So I just want to talk for a minute about the executive briefing that we did last year and some of the training that we've done on site. I think it's unique, not just Okta, but I think Emerson's been able to leverage some of those outshoots to learn a little bit more, to have a better partnership with our company. So do you want to just give your thoughts on start with the briefing and then maybe a little bit about the training we've done for your developers?
Yeah, the executive briefing and training events, they were great for Emerson. The executive briefing got our leadership teams more engaged, from the Emerson and the Okta standpoint. Since that executive briefing, I have felt a stronger sponsorship and relationship or involvement from, my peers in security at Emerson. Which is really, fun, is really key for me in the service that we're trying to provide, because security is, one of the key reasons why, we're operating an identity management service. The briefing, I feel like it helped my peers get excited and thinking, about how they can leverage Okta capabilities and to secure our computing environment. And so it just really the executive briefing on, for me on the Emerson side, it just really was great to get involvement from, my peers at Emerson, but also a chance to, talk with, the product owners and get an idea of, where the products are going. And it was just great for the other people at Emerson to hear that, because then I got a lot of assistance to help driving, Okta activities forward at Emerson. With the trainings, I think the big thing that we did was look at OAuth, and we held that training, to get my team more familiar with OAuth, but also as a way for us to kind of reach out into the developer community at Emerson and really talk about, some of the things that we're capable of supporting when it comes to integrations for these applications with Okta.
Yeah, it's great. It's been a lot of fun. That training was a lot of fun to work with you on. So what's next for 2020? What are the big projects you're looking at now?
2020 is going to be a big year for us, and it needs to be. We're following, a really good year in 2019. Where we really grew our number of application integrations. Last year we did right at 300, and so that was exciting to see the really kind of explosive growth in the application integrations that we have. And so that's kind of led us into some bigger applications that we're focused on at Emerson. One of the items is My Emerson, and that's a portal that you'll find on the emerson.com website. It has, some commerce and some other apps related to our products inside of that portal. And, we're in the midst of an upgrade to the Okta Access Gateway. Looking forward to, leveraging some of the new capabilities that come with it. And, one right away, the one that we are targeting and working with right now is the Rapid SSO. And the Rapid SSO feature, is exciting to us because, we see that it has the opportunity to really reduce a lot of the complexities that we have with our existing integrations with Oracle EBS. And, I think that's very important to us when we think about operational sustainability of, these integrations that we put in place. Often when we implement things that are, technically complex, they often find a way of, breaking or, finding time where they're not accessible to the end user. And I think with the Rapid SSO, we're going to be able to reduce that complexity. It's going to keep the application integrations running, keep the users in the application. And I think, ultimately it'll be a lot easier to perform the integrations as well. And so, my hope is that we're able to take on more and more of these integrations with Oracle EBS if, we find that the Rapid SSO kind of delivers on the promises.
Thanks. Quite a great journey to cover in 30 minutes or so. But, as we kind of close out, are there any words of wisdom you have for the audience? Any parting thoughts?
Well, I go back to the beginning. And for me, it really started with making sure you understood the problem that you're trying to solve, and then just really working it relentlessly. And I think that's what, we've tried to do with, all the work that we've done here and using the Okta product. We've just, kind of solved one problem after another. And largely we've been able to do that, using, Okta or using products with Okta. And so I would just say, understand the problem and then just really, attack the problem relentlessly with the tools that you have available.
Well, thanks. Well, thanks for sharing today. I think now we're going to break over to the Q&A session. So Thanks again, Matt, for your time, and let's turn our attention to any questions the audience might have.